I know that you've experienced back pain before. We all have. And if you haven't, then, well, you're 1 in 5, which doesn't sound that crazy. But what does sound crazy is that over 80% of Americans experience back pain. So in this video, we're gonna run 3 tests to see if our lower back is functioning properly and able to move as it needs to prevent injury and move functionally. And then upon analyzing those test results, we're gonna take a look at how we can fix those issues or prevent ones from showing up in the future. Follow me. So the lumbar vertebrae, or the lower back, actually moves along 4 different planes: flexion, extension, side bending, and rotation. And it should move along all these planes quite well. That's how it was designed. So the first test we want to run is a side bend test. So you're going to cross one foot over the other. Now you probably have done this before if you were an athlete. If you were or are an athlete, you would cross your leg over, reach over with your arm, and then bend to the side. We're gonna do something similar, but we're gonna change it in a way that you'll really feel the stretch in the quadratus lumborum, and it'll tell us just how tight that muscle is to see if it's limiting our mobility. So cross the legs over, and then whichever leg is in front, bend in that direction all the way to the ground until you can touch both hands to the ground. If you can do this and hold there for 30 seconds without much discomfort, then you pass this test. Otherwise, if you feel too much tightness in the quadratus lumborum in the lower back, or even in your hamstrings, and you're unable to hold it for 30 seconds, then you failed this test. Next, we're gonna try the elevated straight leg glute bridge. You've probably never heard of anything like this before, but I discovered that this is really helpful in finding any weakness in the lower back and upper glute muscles. So to do this, you're gonna lay flat on the ground with a bench or a chair in front of you. And you're gonna lift up your legs onto that chair, and then lift one completely off the chair, and with a single leg, you're going to push your hips forward into the sky like a glute bridge, but your legs are going to remain straight and your knee locked. You should be able to hold this position for 30 seconds as well, and if you're able to do this, you pass the test. If your lower back or glutes start cramping, or it's just too difficult and you're unable to hold for 30 seconds, then you failed this test. And then this next one may seem easy, but if there's an issue with the flexion of your lower back, you'll definitely feel it here. You're just gonna curl into a ball and lay on your back. Now, hopefully most of you will pass this one. All you have to do is sit here for 30 seconds, and if you can do that, you passed. If you are unable to and really feel tension and pain in the lower back, then you failed this test and you should definitely stop. The lower back here is actually responsible for the majority of our balance, as well as our postural and athletic stability. And that's very important for injury prevention and for movement in our daily lives. Many of our hip muscles and tissues actually connect at the lower vertebrae. So our back and our hips are going to be strongly correlated. If you're finding this video helpful so far, go ahead and obliterate the like button to let me know and to get this video pushed out to help others. Now let's take a look at what exercises we can do to increase the strength and stability of our lower back. The first exercise is going to be the Superman hold. Now this exercise is wonderful, and I recommend this for anybody dealing with back pain, as anybody can do it, and since it's a static isometric hold, it's really going to strengthen without putting too much stress on the spine or the connective tissue around it. So for this, you're gonna lay flat on the ground on your stomach. You're going to lift up your legs as high as you possibly can, as well as your upper body, and with your arms straight out in front of you, so you're balancing only on your pelvis. And you're going to hold this position for as long as you can. Try to get to a minute. If you can go further than that, great, do it, because this is really going to strengthen the stability of your lower back. The next exercise is kind of a combo here. It's gonna be the Romanian deadlift or the Jefferson curl. So the Romanian deadlift is similar to a regular deadlift, but you're going to keep the legs straight. So the only movement is going to be a hinge at the hips. This is going to really target the lower back, glutes, and hamstrings. So to do this, you're gonna stand on both legs with straight posture, and you're going to hinge at the hips and move down slowly until you're really feeling the stretch in the hamstrings, and then you're gonna move back up slowly. You can even do this loaded to make it more difficult, or on a single leg. But you wanna make sure that you're moving through this slowly and really feeling the stretch in your hamstrings so that we can lengthen and strengthen at the same time. And then this is the Jefferson curl. Now use extreme caution here, and I would not recommend anybody do this with any weight at all when starting off, because you're going to be strengthening in spinal flexion, which can be dangerous if you have weakened muscles. So do this with no weight at first, and it's going to be very similar to the RDL or the Romanian deadlift, but you are actually going to flex the spine and bend all the way up from the head down through the hips. It's going to look like this. Ideally do this on a slant board to get the full stretch on the posterior chain, but if you don't have a slant board, that's okay. You can do it on the flat ground as well. Do this very slowly, and if you do want to move into it loaded, use extreme caution and progress very slowly. Next, we have the same side bend that we did as a test, but we're going to be doing this for reps. So do the same thing where you cross your foot over and then reach down to the side, and you can do this with weight. Maybe wouldn't recommend when starting off if your quadratus lumborum or your QL is extremely tight. Start without weight, but eventually you are gonna move into weight to further bulletproof the lower back and hips. So just as in the test, you're gonna move down until your hands touch the ground and then move back up slowly. And this is going to make your quadratus lumborum as well as your abdominal obliques longer and stronger at the same time. And then we have the classic glute bridge. So this exercise actually does wonders for posture, as the glutes are usually neglected as being an important part of our postural stability, but they are crucial, especially the upper part of the glutes. That's sometimes doesn't get hit with regular squats or lunges or whatever we do on our leg day. So obviously when starting off, you're gonna wanna do this with both legs, and you're just gonna do the classic glute bridge where you lift your hips up off the ground as far as possible and then lower them back down slowly. If you can do this with one leg, do it, and you can even progress into using weight. This will strengthen the glutes as well as increase the load tolerance of your connective tissue. I wanna give some honorable mentions here to the couch stretch, the seated good morning, as well as the sitting stretch. As I previously mentioned, the hips and the lower back are intimately connected and intertwined, so the exercises that really strengthen and develop the hips are also gonna work wonders for the lower back. The reason I didn't go in depth into these specific exercises or the honorable mentions is because I went through them more in depth in the previous hip ability test video that you can check out after this one if you want to see a fuller explanation of these exercises. So now that you're better equipped to strengthen and train the lower back to reduce or prevent any pain or injury, you're gonna want to actually start from the bottom up in fixing any imbalances or issues in the body. From the ankles to the knees, hips, and lower back, everything is connected, and we want to make sure we're taking care of every piece of the puzzle to create the beautiful picture that is human movement. So if you haven't seen the previous videos in the series, you want to go ahead and check them out. You can start off right here to learn how to bulletproof your ankles and strengthen your athletic foundation. Again, if you liked this video, destroy that like button, subscribe, and don't forget to comment down below which of the back ability tests you passed or even failed. I'll see you over there. Go be human.